Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the TamaraTamu Collective, where dreams have no filter. So, what is this both and perspective that I'm talking about? Okay, when it comes to knowing what you deserve, it requires that you have both. It requires that you think in terms of what you desire as and. I want this, I desire this, and I want that. Not, I want this, but then if I want this, it means I can't have that. We put limitations on our dreams because we are taught that if we have certain things, then we have to sacrifice other things that we want, right? So what happens is we put limitations on our dreams because we hear the whole speech. All of us have heard this speech about sacrifice, whether we heard it when as we were growing up, or we heard it, when we officially became adults, all right, in our early 20s. We heard all this talk about sacrifice and how you have to sacrifice this if you want that. You got to sacrifice this. And then, then we're given, if you want this, then you can't have, then you've got this long list of all the things that you can't have or do in order to embrace your dreams, in order to have the life that you desire. So, for example, I always thought that to have a successful business, then that meant I had to sacrifice some of my relationships. So what happens is, that's just one example. So what happens is we settle, instead of what we truly want and desire and what we see ourselves having, we settle for less. We dilute our desires because we have adopted this either or perspective on what it means to embrace our dreams. We have adopted this either or perspective on what it means to live a soul fulfilled life. Okay, and so that's what this video is going to be about. I already got into it, so let's just keep going. Also, when it comes to what brings us joy, so I have to use a few examples to illustrate this. So let's talk about business for a second. When you have an either or perspective, you've got business over here, play over here, joy over here, organization over here. Not taking on, not realizing, not understanding that all of those can coexist. Okay? So let's look at money. And I talked about this in another video. When it comes to money, doing what I know to be true is that doing what brings us joy can also bring us money. We don't have to have joy over here and then what's bringing us money over here. The two can coexist. But because sometimes we live in that either or, so instead of us saying and knowing and taking on the identity that says, the more I live my life as a soul fulfilled human in freedom and joy, the more wealth I create. Instead of that, we say, well, I've got this thing over here that brings me joy. It makes me feel alive. It makes me feel vibrant. I'll just keep that as a hobby. Meanwhile, over here, I'll just keep, collecting my money, collecting a check, doing something that I really could give a shit about. Not understanding, again, that joy and money can go together. Do you understand? So then we have this either or limitation, which leads to the risk factor and how we view risk. So then we say, we'll say things like, well, I'm not a risk taker. And that goes back to, we'll use money again. It says, there's a limiting belief that says if I become wealthy, this is an example. If I become wealthy, then I risk losing those that I love in my life. We tell that that's a story that we've heard many people say. I mean, and what's the main one where I cringe every time I hear it? I don't even want to say it. The more money, more, we still say that. I hate it. Okay. That's another example of either or perspective, right? So then, I mentioned this earlier, we start to ignore because we don't want, to take that risk of losing people because we have now experienced wealth and abundance and money that we have never experienced before. Now we, instead of taking the risk to experience that, we would rather ignore how we want to live our lives. We water down what we want, not understanding that to ignore what you want, to dilute what you want, that's a risk in itself. Every time you ignore your dreams, every time you ignore your vision, every time you ignore that nudge to do something creative, every time you ignore your passion, you take a risk. You take a risk. All right, so let me go to the next page of my notes. All right, so what I want you to understand too is that your vision, how you see your life beyond where you're at now, that's not a risk. It's not a risk. To accept what you see, to accept your vision, is to flourish. To accept your vision is to flourish. To accept that is to flourish. Because that's where we were put here to do. Because you deserve all. There's no either or in any of this. So if someone, ever asked you, or if your ego has posed the question, who are you to think that you can have everything that you desire? Well, now's the time for you to flip that and say, okay, well, who am I not to think that I can have what I desire? Who am I not to live the life I imagine? Who am I not to flourish? Who am I not to know and exist in the identity that the more that I live my life in freedom and adventure and joy, the more wealth I create? Who am I not to identify with that? You deserve all. Who are you not to know that you deserve all, that you deserve to flourish? So I know that this video helped you. And also, this is a reminder about the one-on-one sessions that I am doing Tuesday, Saturday, and Sundays. The link is in the description box. If you click on the link will take you to the scheduling page, gives you more information about the transformative session with me. It's 75 minutes. It is a consultation, not designed. It is not designed to give you a 5-step anything. It is to get you to turn within, to access that power deep down in your molecules, to get you to understand and to know and to remember that you've got genius running through your veins, ready to be expressed. You have a vision that your soul wants to express through you. And we use that session to uncover any blocks, any emotions, anything that you may be holding on to. And we observe that, not in a way that's judgmental. It is not designed to fix you, but it's designed for you to look at that, again, just observing and saying, okay, I see that there, but now that I understand and I know that I'm powerful, I'm reminded I'm powerful, now I can transcend. So that's what that session is designed to do. So let me know if you have any questions. You can actually send me an email. I just remembered I don't offer my email. I should have done this. My email is info@tamuinc.com, or you can leave me a question in the comments. All right. So thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of the TamaraTamu Collective, where dreams have no filter. Until next time, cheers.